The UN says the Gaza Strip is now the most dangerous place for children in the world. Gaza's health ministry says 20,000 people, nearly 1% of the Hamas-run enclave's population, have been killed since the start of the Israel-Hamas war over 2 months ago. It says 70% of those killed were women and children. The deepening crisis has led to urgent calls for humanitarian aid and a ceasefire.
We are now coming to the end of what was the deadliest year in the occupied Palestinian territory. This should be a wake-up call that the current status quo cannot be allowed to continue.
A U.S. report pointed to Israel's use of unguided bombs for the high civilian casualties in Gaza. But Israel claims to only be targeting Hamas fighters and blamed underground tunnels allegedly used by Hamas leaders for putting civilian lives at risk. Israel launched an offensive after Hamas attacked in October, taking over 200 hostages, and has insisted on military action to free them.
כל מחבלי החמאס, מהראשון עד האחרון, הם בני מוות. יש להם רק שתי אפשרויות, להיכנע או למות.
Half of Gaza's population is reported to be starving, as Israeli airstrikes and ground attacks have cornered Palestinians in the southern Gaza Strip, near the border with Egypt. The country is one of the few entry points for humanitarian aid to Palestinians, but shipments are heavily monitored by Israel, and the U.S., which is Israel's biggest ally, has delayed a vote on a UN Security Council aid resolution in order to maintain Israeli oversight.
We continue to believe that Israel does not have to choose between removing the threat of Hamas and minimizing the toll on civilians in Gaza. It has an obligation to do both, and it has a strategic interest to do both.
American officials have repeatedly voted against UN resolutions that call for a ceasefire, claiming that Israel has the right to defend itself against Hamas until all the hostages are freed. But Hamas leaders say there must be a complete ceasefire before they free any hostages, leaving Palestinian civilians trapped in the cycle of conflict. Ryan Wu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.